And hello, everybody.
Hi,
Chris.
everybody.
Hi. Hi, friends. I want to make sure my mic is working. It looks like it's working. Yay. And it looks like,
Working for me.
all right, Chris is
I can
work.
hear you loud and clear.
All right. That's what we like to
We are
hear.
here. The
Yes.
gang's all back together again. We're not missing a single person. Not one. It's how it always has been. The R&R Show.
That's it, folks. Hey, Bing. Hey, Omar Hernandez. Hello, Spider-Man Geek. Welcome, friend. I'm glad.
Imagine. I just want to say, imagine if that's how we like. If Ray never came back, and that's all we said. Like, imagine if that's all we said, and it was just left in like this ether of Ray not being here.
Oh, my
Ray's
God.
out today. Our biggest disappointment, our number zero, is that Ray isn't joining us for the list today.
Absolutely.
Um, but Ray couldn't make it, but we still wanted to, get all curmudgeon up in here. Chris is a little bit louder.
Curmudgeon.
That's because I'm so excited to see you all, and I'm literally screaming.
Yes, I will turn down
Goblin.
Chris's mic just a tad. Thank you,
It's
Bing.
because I get too excited. My girlfriend tells me this on planes. I'm like screaming at the top of my lungs, and she's like, please, you gotta stop.
Oh my
You
gosh.
really gotta stop. Like, people are trying to sleep, and
Too
you're waking
funny.
the pilot up.
I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on with the featured chat thingy. Usually it works just fine, but it's not working right now, of course. So I'm gonna see if I can fix it on the fly. Chris,
Hmm.
it's been a while since we did the R&R show. What's new, man?
Yeah. I guess it has. Has
Yeah,
it? I don't know. Time has no meaning for me,
same.
Ruel. I wake up and I think about board games and then I fall asleep. And it continues over and over and over again. I've
Yes.
been good. I've been good. I'll tell the people. Oh, look at that. Hi,
Yeah.
Ruel. Spider-Man Geek pops up on the chat. Look, you fixed it right away.
Yeah.
Corthane redeemed a Royal ranks. I think this is a good time to probably get through any backlog
Yeah.
of bits that we've been spending, because we've just been doing some Garctic show, but we're gonna do things a little bit a little bit non-Garctic show,
Yes.
because Ray's not here, and because we're gonna try to get the list started a little bit sooner so that we have more time in the pre-show to talk about all
Yes.
of your picks and just hang out top and tails so that we don't run over time. That's why we're gonna be doing it.
Exactly.
Uh,
Cool. So
how
yes.
dare you, Goblin? but
God.
honestly, I agree with you. That's my biggest disappointment every time I'm on the show. I'm like, man, there's such cool people. We got Ruel, we got Ray. Oh, Chris is here again. Imagine what it's like to be me looking in the mirror every morning. I wake up and I hope that
Oh,
Chris isn't here, and then
that's so
suddenly he's
sad.
there staring right back at me. I'm
Oh my
like, for
gosh.
once, why can't you be John Hamm just for once?
John
Just
Hamm.
once, just once. I want to wake up as John Malkovich.
No, okay.
I want to
Malkovich is
go
cool.
in that little doorway.
Yes. Oh, nice reference. I just got that. Yeah, very nice.
Mm.
Folks, we are not going to be John Malkovich today, but we are going to be the R&R show. Chris and I are going to hang out. We're going to be leading the discussion on the most disappointing games of 2023. Richard will be joining us via video, and I'm
Hmm.
looking forward to this list because I am actually a little scared of what's going to be on this list. We shall see. I know there's some favorites on here, and
Yeah,
there are going to be some surprises, Chris. I can guarantee
my
you that.
list is entirely just Richard's top four games of all time. That's what I'm trying to go for. That's all I'm gonna do moving forward with these lists. I'm gonna see what Richard likes, and I'm gonna put it on my list
Yeah.
to see if I can get steam to come out of a person. That's my goal here. If I can get that to happen, I think it's a win for everybody.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Um, it's well, we're gonna say, we'll save that for a little bit. When
We'll
about
save it for
after the
later.
pre-show's over, folks, you'll join us for the list as we record that live here on Twitch. Be sure to, if you'd like to support the channel, feel free to subscribe. You can subscribe for free using an Amazon Prime account, and you get all kinds of goodies, including a special secret playlist of videos that Richard puts together every month, and you get discounts on Rahdo merch as well. And you have our
Mhm.
eternal thank yous and gratitude for supporting the channel. We've got a Ruel ranks. Now, I'm looking at the little queue here. I did a last week during the From the Vault. So if you joined us from the Vault
Mhm.
last week, folks, I appreciate you hanging out. We got through a bunch of that stuff. So we only have one thing today to get through, and that's a Ruel ranks. And
But
that's
we also, before we do that, I feel like we should do the game sommelier first, because
oh,
Corthane, I think, redeemed both,
oh, okay,
uh,
cool.
and so I feel like
Yeah,
um, Game Somalia is a nice way to kind of start things
I
off.
like that, and I just
Um,
saw it. Yes, thank you, Chris, and thank you.
I can turn
Um,
myself. I'm turning myself down, AB True, because again I'm screaming because I'm so excited you're here.
okay, so
But I just turned my own mic down, so thank you for letting me know about that.
okay,
But yeah,
cool.
Corthane says my wife and I love 2-player filler length games that are fairly light. Thoughts? Do
Ah,
you have any like specific themes that you like,
fairly.
or that your wife particularly gravitates to? And then how light and what would you describe as a filler length? Is 30 minutes too much, or is that fine for filler length?
Hmm. Yeah, so if you can answer that,
Hmm.
well, then we could, Court, then we could get some recommendations for you as Chris and I will play your game sommeliers
Hmm.
right now. Get this ready. Why don't we go over to BGG and we can start taking a
Hmm.
look at some of
And
these games
start
here.
taking a look at some of the stuff for
Yeah.
the Ruel ranks. I gotta say, Corthane, there's no there's nothing that I take more seriously in this world than like trying to find the perfect game for someone. You
Yes.
know, I feel like whenever somebody asks me that, it's as if I'm performing open heart surgery, because like I am so desperate for you to enjoy yourself and to enjoy your valuable, precious gaming time.
So, we've
So
got
I
some.
do want to know about the switches, yeah, and like the define it more for us if you'd like.
Yeah, yeah. So, Spider-Man Geek recently tried Floriferous it too. Might do the trick.
Mhm.
I really like Floriferous. I've talked about that a few times here on the show. I think
Yeah,
anything from Steve Finn, especially when he partners with Pencil First, I think are really, really good games.
yeah. Yeah, I think I haven't played Floriferous, but I read through the rule book
Mhm.
and it looks really tight and really nice.
Yeah.
And I also would agree with that.
Goblin
Um,
mentions Targi. Now, Targi, I love. That's one of my favorite games.
mhm,
I don't know if I'd consider it a filler. I've never gotten through a game that was shorter than 45 minutes. Like, it's a
mhm.
full-on game, worker placement. I ranked it a 9. I love Targi.
Yeah, I
But,
know. I still haven't played it. I still need to play it.
oh, you would love it, Chris. I think you
We'll
would
play
really,
it
really like it.
eventually. I
Yeah.
know.
And,
Um,
you're always talking about getting more bang for your buck. This is like one of my top 5 all-time like bang for your
yeah,
buck games. It's $20 US retail. It should honestly be like a $40 game with how much gameplay is in that box.
cool. Love that.
Love
Thanks,
Targi.
Barefoot Bug. Barefoot Bug subscribed. Appreciate that.
Oh, thanks
Thank
for the
you.
subscription. Nice. Thank
That's
you.
really nice.
Okay, Corthane says 5 to 30 is fine for length. We enjoy abstract, hive, dice chuckers, Targi. Okay, abandon all
Hmm.
artichokes.
Okay.
You can see my collection BGG is fairly up to date. It's under Corthane. Okay, cool. So based on that, let's see. So they mentioned hive,
Hive. Yeah,
Targi.
abstract. So that head to head is okay.
Yeah.
That like the sort of chess like blanket, because I
Yep.
know my girlfriend doesn't like the chess like style of game, and so
Okay.
we tend to vie away from that.
Yeah.
Onitama is a suggestion in the chat. That's pretty decent.
Oh, I think that's a good one.
Dice chuckers. If you want a fun dice chucker, Dice Miner is
Oh
pretty
yeah.
fun as like a would hit in
I
that
love
filler
Dice
area.
Miner. Nice call.
Well, I just played it for the first time at PAX,
Oh,
so it's like more. Yeah, I'd
nice.
never played it before, but it's like really, yeah, really solid. Just chucking dice. It
Yeah.
is really light. You don't have to think that much.
Yep.
Actually, I've got like a 2-player. That's the
I
ticket. Let me
I
just.
love 2-player in that game because by the third or fourth round, you need 2 hands to hold all the dice you're rolling, which I love.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so good. Yeah, it's a light
Um,
set collection game, but it has that sort of spatial element where you're trying to take the dice from the mountain. Um, and that sort of, it depends. Like, not all the you don't have access to all the dice unless you do like a special ability. Otherwise, you have to
mhm.
take dice that are like have at least one side exposed and can easily be removed.
Yeah.
Huge fan of Dice
We're
Miner.
we're doing over on Ruben Board in our like over on our little Patreon. We do like a monthly voting thing, and so the theme this month is actually like games to recover from burnout. You know, when you're really tired,
Yeah,
like the burnout games. I feel like this kind of falls into that category. Some of the ones that have gotten far, I mean, I'll just spoil that for everybody. I don't care.
Okay.
French Quarter has gone really far. It's like a little
Oh,
roll and write
yeah.
that people have been talking about. I think Trogdor is going to win. Trogdor, the board game,
Okay,
because
yeah. Which I still need
my
to
patrons
play.
think it's funny that a game about burnout is just Trogdor burning everything. I'm fairly certain that's the reason.
Nice.
Sky Team is being thrown around. You've played Sky Team, Ruel, and it does play in that 30-minute
Yeah.
area, right?
One of my favorite games of 2023. Easily a top 3 game for me. I absolutely love Sky Team. It plays in about 15 to 20 minutes, and wow, that's a nice picture. Wow, looks like that's an amazing photo. Who took this one? I got it. Joel, wonderful photo. Yeah, it's a cooperative game that gets rid of the quarterbacking problem because it's limited information. You can talk between turns, but as you're doing your actions, you can't tell your partner, hey, do this or that. You're just hoping that they do the right thing. And it plays about 15 minutes or so. Richard and I played online on the channel. And if you ever fly Gaviola Airlines, folks, you will die. I will tell you that right now, because I've lost this game more times than I've won. But it's always fun.
Don't fly Gaviola Airlines. That's important for everyone to know.
Yes.
Do not fly Gaviola Airlines.
Goblin mentions Martian dice, and this is another light dice chucker along the lines of zombie dice and popcorn dice and those type of dice chucking games. It's just set collection with a little, hey, if you roll these symbols, then you lost your turn and you continue. You're trying to get to a certain threshold. I also like Chicken. I think Chicken falls along this line. I love Chicken.
Yeah, Chicken's silly. Silly. I was just looking on my shelf behind me. In terms of 2-player, like my girlfriend really likes Morels. That's that. I think it plays in 30 minutes. It might play in 40 though, right? Like might hit that sort of 40, but you're just collecting mushrooms. That's a potential. I like Point Salad at 2. That was also on my shelf, and I was like, well, I'll just talk about it. Like, I think at 2, it can kind of become a really, really neat drafting and denial thing. Like at 6, there's no, you just try to do what you can.
Yep.
Right. It's going around. It's very random, but still great.
Right. I agree. 2, and with Point Salad at 2, you strip the deck of a bunch of numbers, right?
Yeah. So it's like, it still plays very quickly.
Yep. I like that one. And if we're going along those lines, Point City is another good one, right? Taking the Point Salad formula and adding a few things.
What else do I have on my shelf?
Because of the time of the year, this is literally on my table right now. And folks, I did a run through for Rahdo a few months ago, but Star Wars, the deck building game, we've got Star Wars Day coming up this Saturday. This plays in about 30 minutes, but if you play the so-called advanced version, you can extend this up to about 45 to 60. But it's a quick deck building game along the lines of Star Realms. But I think it's better, not only because I love Star Wars, but the way it does a few different elements, like the Force. It's like a tug-of-war between you and the other side, and that gives you additional benefits, which I really think is a cool way to do that. So I definitely recommend Star Wars, a deck building game.
That's a great. I'm hoping to play that maybe this weekend, because I have some friends who are coming up, and I looked through their BGG and I was like, hey, these are all the games that you have that I've never played and would like to learn. And that was no Star Wars deck building.
Okay.
Was on that list.
I think
if
you'll
I
like
can
it,
get a chance to play it. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't do anything totally new for deck building, but it's really just a clean design. Yeah. I think Goblin mentioned Circle the Wagons, and this is a wonderful game. I love Circle the Wagons. Kitty Cat. Oh, who is that?
Cat Cam. That's Artie.
Artie.
Oh, well, no. He'll come back. He'll jump on my keyboard and disconnect me, and then I'll come back. I think this is important to mention, though, that Bing asks, after you said that Gaviola Airlines, you will die, Bing asks, does Gaviola Airlines have snacks? Important detail. Bing, there's no snack in the world that's worth flying on Gaviola Airlines. Save yourself.
It's all about snacks, which is probably, we should have spent the money we spent on snacks on pilot training, obviously.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Yeah, exactly. They have a very robust snack. you'll get your filet mignon, perfectly broiled by the flames of the aircraft going down.
Yes, it'll be your last meal on Earth, folks.
Yeah.
Circle the Wagons, a wonderful 2-player game from Button Shy Games. They are the ones known for their 18 card games, and this is I'm pretty sure this is Richard's favorite. It might be my favorite of their line of games as well.
Yeah, that's the point. Goblin says if you're going to die anyway, you want snacks. You don't have to die. You can take any other airline. That's the point. I understand loyalty to Ruel, okay? I get it. But let me tell you, you don't have to do it. You don't have to go down with that plane.
Yeah. We have no frequent flyer program with Gaviola Airlines. You're one and done.
Yeah.
This has turned dark real fast. Board Game Man was talking about Brian Baru, a great trick-taking game. I have not played that one yet. I have it.
I haven't. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know it. I think it starts at it's a 3-player minimum game because it's trick-taking, but it's trick-taking used as area control, which is really fascinating to me.
I really like Gizmos at 2 in that, like, you can play a game of that in half hour for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like I like Gizmos in terms of, I guess it's not filler, but it's still light. Like there's not too much that you have to keep track of. Like it's still an okay game for if you just want to like decompress and relax.
Right. Hey, our friends in 25th Century Games are in chat. Hi, 25th Century Games.
Hey.
25th Century Games says, similar to Point Salad working at 2, Downtown Farmers Market is a game that works in the same way, well, with 2. It's all because of the drafting, being closer to the draft back and forth, which I still need to play. I don't think I've played Downtown Farmers Market. But,
no, you know what? I may not have even heard of it until right now.
Oh,
but
okay.
25th Century Games is always bringing the beautiful recommendations.
Yes.
You know what you should go get? You should, I mean, I'd play Raw with more people, but like any excuse I can get to talk about how lovely that production quality is on Raw, I'm gonna take.
I mean,
so 25th Century Games in the chat. Yeah, sorry.
We're putting it up on screen. Yeah, it's like one of the most beautifully produced games, and of course, it's from our friend Dr. Reiner. It's the good doctor, the one and only doctor. So such a brilliant game.
Beer and Bread. A shout out for Beer and Bread in the chat.
Yeah.
I know you like Beer and Bread.
Yeah, that one is that one surprised me. I didn't expect much from that for whatever reason. Actually, no, I did expect much because it's from Scott Alms, producer of the Tiny Epic series. I love his games. And this one felt like a Uwe Rosenberg type of game with all of the resource management and the really clever track of how you do your actions and whatnot. I really like this one.
Does it hit filler quality though? Is there too much going on? Like, are there too many things to keep track of?
This is a good question. So,
it feels like there might be too much to keep track of.
I feel like can we say it's a meaty filler? Like it's a filler, but it's
a meaty filler.
Yeah,
sure.
Right. So it's like,
but I think that's important in terms of like when we're talking about these games and structuring.
Yeah. Because you could play Point Salad 2 players in like what 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know there's other games that play in like 20 to 30, which Beer and Bread plays probably about 30 minutes, but I feel like it's definitely got more, it's crunchier on the brain than other 30-minute games.
Yeah.
But yeah,
honestly, if you like card-based games, Silver works well at 2 players. I like it at 2 players.
Oh,
really? You have to technically play 4 rounds. It's the best out of 4 rounds, but if you're playing it with 2 people, a round is probably 10 minutes, let's say. So it could be shorter, but like, so it might hit in that 40-minute area. Yeah. But you could just stop. You could say, okay, we're done.
Got it.
I really, really love Silver and Scram.
I don't think I know Silver from Bezier Games, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I've played that one.
It's all. Oh yeah, it's so good.
Okay.
It's really good. And Scram, it's like it's based off of this very bad card game called Golf. And when I heard it was based off of Golf, I was like, well, this is going to be just horrendous. Yeah. But I took it because like my girlfriend's parents love golf. Like they love playing it. And so I took it. I'm like, okay, well, this is like kind of ramps it up, but it just like it cooks so well. I love Scram. Scram's a team game. You can do a team version of Silver either way.
Nice.
It really, really, really good. Like blew me away by how like enjoyable it is. And
Have we talked about
I
Scram
hate
before? I don't know if we
probably I
talked.
probably brought it up. I
'Cause
don't know.
I remember you talking about golf, the solitaire game, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Oh man, I need to try that still.
Yeah, it's really good.
Nice.
Like I'm it's annoying to me when card games are too good because then I have so many bigger boxes on my shelf and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, let's get a game night, and then like we play this card game. It's like Dutch Blitz, and then we play it for the whole night. We have such a great time. I don't care. I've got all these big boxes on my shelf that I didn't get to open, but like it was the game's too good that we just kept on playing that one game. It's so annoying, but it's a good problem.
It's a good problem to have, right? Our friend IT Omar Hernandez recommends Watergate, and I'm right there behind you. I love Watergate. I think it's a brilliant game. Anyone, if you played Twilight Struggle, this is like super light, streamlined down Twilight Struggle, card base, hand management, and it's got this. I mean, it's a brilliantly themed game as well.
It's quite good.
Yeah, Truzen, and we also have a first time chatter. Thank you, Brim the Black, for hanging out. Air, Land, and Sea. They recommend. I really like this game, Air, Land, and Sea.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll show the new version. Oh no, that's not it. That's Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. Air, Land, and Sea. The card game. There it is. Now this one was the sort of like World War II-ish theme battle game. I think it's really clever. Right. You played it, right, Chris?
You know what? I have not, but my friend just got a copy, and we almost played it the other day. So like I was within striking range of Air, Land, and Sea.
Yeah,
but I'm busy working the cat cam right now.
I love the cat cam. We need more of the cat cam, right, folks? Air, Land, and Sea. You are just trying to control its area control with the card hand management. Air, Land, and Sea, the 3 different fronts of a war. And you're going to play numbers 1 through 6, and each one has different abilities and whatnot. I think it's a wonderful 20-minute game. They actually re-implemented it with Critters of War, I think. Critters of War. So if you're not really into the theme of World War II, take the... this is a promo card.
Was it Spies, Lies, and Supplies? Or that's just the expansion for Air, Land, and Sea. I think it's standalone, though.
Yeah. Where is it? Critters at War? Is it Critters at War or of War? At War. There it is. No, that's not it.
Oh, Truzen says I prefer Cabo over Silver, just a simpler rule set.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah, I've heard of Cabo.
I haven't played Cabo. Well, Scram also has a simpler rule set than Silver, and to be honest, I think I might prefer Scram, but I really like the team based. Does Cabo play team based?
Oh, interesting.
Because I haven't played Cabo.
Yeah. Brim the Black also mentions Fantasy Realms. Yeah, this gets a lot of love on this channel. I think Richard prefers the Marvel one.
Marvel Remix.
Marvel Remix, yeah. But Fantasy Realms is fantastic. Yeah, this game is terrific.
And Spider-Man Geek, Air, Land, and Sea is exactly like Marvel Snap. That's exactly what they've.
Took it from, totally.
Essentially.
Yep.
Yeah, you have the 3 locations: lane battler.
Yep.
Try to win 2 out of 3. Essentially.
That's a great comparison. That's exactly what it is. Marvel Snap, the analog version. Magic Eric, hi, welcome in. Thanks for hanging out. Oh wow, someone's playing the game outside.
Hey, Magic Eric, how's it going?
Cool. Hey, a lot of great recommendations here. I hope that we've given you a few to think about, folks.
There you go. Instead of a curated sommelier experience, it's like, what wine would you suggest? We suggest you open a winery. That's what we suggest. I just want 1 glass of wine. No. How about 1,000?
Yeah.
And you figure it out.
Exactly. You're going to be laying on the floor by the time you're done taking sips of every single wine we just recommended. But thank you for that. Was that Corthane who recommended that?
Yeah, that was...
Yeah. Corthane, thank you for that. We've got a couple of minutes, so we're going to do a Ruel ranks as well. So why
Do
don't
a
we move
quick
to
Ruel
that?
ranks.
Yeah, let's
There
do a
was
Ruel.
there was a spoiler in there. 25th Century Games said, speaking of Circle the Wagons, coincidentally enough, I have a working session dev meeting with Danny and Steven tonight. Secret upcoming non-announced game.
Ah,
Secrets. It's
what?
much bigger and very good.
Ooh, look at that, folks.
So
We're
we don't have Ray to do any spoilers today. So 25th Century Games, it's up to you.
Oh
me
yeah,
tell ya.
where's Ray? We could prod her for some info, but she's not here, so we're gonna rely on 25th Century Games to give us some spoilers if possible.
All right, let's do a Ruel ranks. Let's
Yeah.
get some options here
Okay.
as you scroll through. Do you have some options of ones that you would contemplate talking about?
Yeah, let's go to. We always go to the end of the list because those are the games that have most
Mhm.
recently entered my collection.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Oh,
see.
well, let's stay at the top. Let's go the top 5 then.
Okay.
Your oldest games that you have. How about that?
Oh, okay.
Wouldn't that be spicy?
That would be super spicy. What did I just press? I pressed.
Because presumably you have played at least. Presumably they're not on your shelf of shame.
Yeah.
the first 5.
Yeah. The first 5. Well, okay. Well, here we are. We're down to. Right. So these are the last like 100 games that have entered my collection. No, 50 games.
Okay.
So I'm gonna talk about the ones. We can talk about the ones I played. So why don't we start a little chat poll here? Where is Stream Manager? So folks, we'll give you a choice of like 3. So this is funny. Earth just entered my collection, but I played that plenty. So we're gonna pass on that. Donuts, I just got in. I'm always happy to talk about donuts, game or not game.
Yeah.
So why don't we add that to the
Ruel ranks as honey crullers.
Nice.
Or sour cream glazed.
Oh my gosh. What should Ruel rank? Okay. We are talking about the game, folks. I mean, donuts. I know we've done the donut ranking before with Richard. What's your favorite donut, Chris?
The 2 that I just mentioned. Or
really?
Nice sprinkle.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll oscillate between those 2.
Nice. Oh, here's a new one. People might be interested. Tangram City. That's a tile laying game by our friend Uwe Rosenberg.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna put Far Away in there. This one, I'm telling you, I want to talk about Far Away. I think it's a fantastic game. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Okay, everybody vote for Far Away.
Okay. Donuts, Tangram City, or Far Away. Starting the poll now, and y'all got like 2 minutes to vote. And then the top one, oh, okay, someone wants a bigger font. Cool. Whoops.
See, yeah, we're voting for Far. Oh, I thought we were all voting for Far Away. I thought we agreed.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's all vote for Far Away, folks.
I don't even know any of these games. I've never heard of a board game before, and I'm not going to start now.
Oh my gosh. Oh, imagine Eric is talking cinnamon rolls over donuts. Interesting.
It depends. It really depends.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can make it such a wild, outlandish general statement like that, Imagine Eric. I don't know. I wish you could, but some days,
yep,
you just gotta have that. You don't need the center. Okay, I'm trying to keep a slim figure. All right, so I don't need a full one.
Yes.
I need something with a little hole cut out in it, so that I feel okay. Like it's an acceptable sweet treat for me.
And everyone knows
and that's why I have 7 of them, because they're empty. They're essentially empty.
Because everyone knows all the calories are within that little hole in the middle. That's why they dispose of it. Okay, got a little while longer for the poll.
Yeah, see, I think you're right. You're right, Griff. I think you're 100% right. The best donut is better than the best cinnamon roll, but donuts have more variants. So, like, the worst donut is also worse than the worst cinnamon roll. I think I would make that statement.
That's right.
Do you want to you go boom or bust? You got to go boom or bust.
You really do. In the donut game is known for boom or bust, folks. What did I have? I'm a big fan of Tiger Tails. It's like chocolate.
Voting again will cost me 1 Rahdo point. That seems very, very easy.
Oh yeah,
I have 23,000 of them.
Yeah, vote for what you want. Influence the vote, folks, with those Rahdo points. The poll has ended. Let's look at the results.
It's a tie.
Oh, donuts and Far Away. Do we do both?
I think you should do donuts because honestly, I voted for Far Away 3 to 4 times.
Okay.
So if we're gonna really honor the actual what the actual community wants, then donuts is what the community wants.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your transparency and honesty, Chris. We're going to talk about donuts, folks. So we will talk about the delicious food, but we're going to talk about this game as well. This is a game by Bruno Cathala, known for many, many hits. This is an abstract game. It's very simple to explain. You want to get 5 of your donuts, whether it's the glaze or the chocolate, in a row, orthogonally or diagonally. And the twist here is, let me get a better photo. Okay, so you place a donut down, and as you can see, each space has a line that's either diagonal or vertical or horizontal. When you place your donut on a space, your opponent must place it either diagonally or orthogonally, depending on which way the line is pointing. So that sort of sets you up. Like, I can place a donut, but then I'm going to dictate where you have to place yours. And it goes back and forth. You take turns doing that. A real cool twist is when you place a donut in between 2 of your opponent's donuts. Let's see. For instance, if I just place this glaze between your 2 chocolate donuts, the chocolate donuts on the ends flip over to glaze. So if you get, it's called insertion or insert. If you can,
so it's like reverse Othello.
Yes, that someone mentioned that. I've never played Othello, so that's what it is, folks. Reverse Othello. And when you get 5 in a row,
2 donuts of the Mad King Far Away.
Nice, Brim. I love that. So yeah, that's donuts, folks. It's an abstract game. It's hard. Plays in about 15 to 20 minutes. We were just talking about filler games. I think it's a great filler game. Very, very straightforward. I enjoy it. Oh, there's insert right there.
But you have to. That kind of reminds me a little bit of this game Sayu. It was by a smaller publisher, sort of more on Kickstarter, where like wherever you put something down, there are arrows. And like if I put an arrow down, I can then flip yours, and they keep on flipping, and every time they flip over, the arrow will be in a different direction, and so you can know what the chain is going to be, but you want to like keep on flipping things. It feels like it would hit into that realm of things. Essentially.
So it's interesting because someone else mentioned.
I want to play this with actual donuts, says Imaginary. Yeah. That would be the only way I feel like I would enjoy playing this game.
That would be awesome. Everyone wins at that point. There are no losers if you play with real donuts. Magic Arrow also said Monique and Naveen on Before You Play called it Donut Othello. So there it is.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So what's the score, Ruel? Now, how do you score things? Because my buddy Zach has this scoring system. He ranks things a 10, a 5, or a 1. That's it.
Oh, that's it?
That's it.
Wow.
Because you either love it, you'd ask to play it.
Yeah.
You would play it if somebody wants to play it, or you don't want to play it, and it's just simple. I think it's a bit extreme, but I also respect it enormously.
I was gonna say I sort of like that system because here, okay, so looking at BGG, people ranked it 6.4 over the
I know you put decimals on everything.
I do.
You put 2 decimals on everything, depending upon how the wind is blowing that day.
Yes. So I always start, my baseline is 7. That's like, it's a good game. I don't mind it. I don't hate it. I may not love it at 7. I just played it 2 days ago with my buddy. It's
nice. So it's fresh.
It's fresh
on your mind.
Yeah. Do I give it a 7? So I like other abstract.
It feels like it's 7.
It feels like a 7. It's definitely not like a Hive or an Azul. It's not like a modern classic. But I'm gonna go 7.01. 2.
Oh wow! Because I was gonna ask, is it a 7.01 or is it 6.99? It seems like it's 7.0, but it's a 7.02.
Yep.
You smoked it. Perfect.
Truzen
I
said,
like it.
Their 7 is, I respect this game. It's good, but I'm not excited to play it. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm excited to play Donuts, but it certainly doesn't give me bad feelings. I like it.
Yeah. It's a 5.
It's a 5. Yeah.
It's a Zach 5.
Zach 5, or in my case, a 7.02. Thank you for that, folks. We have done the Ruel ranks for this episode. I appreciate y'all. Anything? I think that's it. Yeah, we're all caught up. Chris,
I think it's time to get into the list. Let's get into the list so that we have time to hang out and chat afterwards. I feel.
Yeah,
we're gonna
party
started.
Yeah. we are going to make sure you all have your say as well as far as what we're talking about today. And why don't I get this ready to go? We are going to be talking about the top 12 most disappointing games of 2023. This is something we normally don't do on the show. We try to keep things positive here, but you know, we're gonna try something different. I think it's
we were so sad that Ray couldn't be here that we wanted to take it out on everyone else, basically.
So blame Ray, folks. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, really, it's Ray's fault.
It's all Ray's fault.
These games would have been not disappointments if Ray had been there.
Oh, totally.
Playing with us.
Yeah. My list completely changes with Ray here. I'll tell you that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. There's no list.
Let's get this going. I need to fix something on the back end, Chris. So I'm going to ask you to
chat. You got anything? You got anything else before we get into the list? Now we'll probably just kind of do the list and then we'll chat afterwards for sure. But it's nice hanging out. It's nice to see everybody. Nice to see everybody popping up in the chat. Truzen asks, somebody else asked. Who asked? Risto Pisto said, so 7 is a cull or no buy zone, but I think they were asking Truzen. What gets it into like culling territory for you, where you're like, that'll probably end up leaving the collection. Like, what's the number?
You know, for me personally, there is no number, and I'm going to tell you why. Mm-hmm. I've culled games that are like 8s and 9s on my list.
Well, just because they don't get played, they're not for the group, right?
Yeah, 2 reasons: they don't get played, or a friend of mine owns it, and there's no reason for me to own it. Like one of my favorite games, that's I feel like an underrated game, Cry Havoc, area control game, totally overlooked and underrated. But I had a copy,
on my shelf.
My friend Daryl has a copy. He painted his copy, so I'm like, why would I want to play non-painted figures? You know what I mean? So
you know when you say that, I don't know why I should get rid of mine. Cry Havoc has been on my shelf of shame for like 5 years, and I'm so excited to play it still, but I want to play it at 4 because I feel like it's just like I want my first experience to be at 4, and then like I've delayed a bunch, but also it's got the bidding style, like it gives me Rising Sun vibes with its bidding style. And so that's why it has not. I don't know if that's the reason why it hasn't hit the table as well. Because I'm like, oh, we'll just play Rising Sun when I have that like group over.
Yep.
But
it's a game. I know how much you like you love Rising Sun, Chris. I think
it's my number one.
Cry Havoc.
Yeah.
Like the big thing that it's a really neat way they handle combat. So It's always like you know, you can beat up people, but then there's always a cost of like beating up people. Like, and there's options too. You could like take people prisoner and stuff. And anyway, it's so good. Okay. I'm ready here on the back end. And we have a sponsor today. So, folks, what you're watching is the live studio taping of the top 12 most disappointing games of 2023. Richard joins us via video. We're going to do an intro. We're have the sponsor, or Richard will talk about the sponsor. Then Chris and I will join you here for the list. And Chris, are we ready to go?
I think we're ready to go.
All right.
Let's get mean.
Let's do this, folks. And by the way, folks, stick around.
Tagline of the channel.
Yeah. By the way, folks, stick around because we're going to talk about games that didn't make the list, and we want to know what you have been, what you're most disappointed as well. So we'll talk about that. Okay, here we
got to talk about Goblin saying White Castle because I'm excited to play it. I haven't played it, so
White Castle. Oh, okay,
it won't be on the list. It won't be on my list, so we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll talk you after.
Okay, here we go.
Hey everybody, this week's R&R is brought to you by Ice Makes and their new title, crowdfunding right now, Epoch's Course of Cultures. And let me tell you folks, I feel like I have been really behind the curve on a hot new designer that's been putting out some really great stuff for the last few years. Maybe you've recently heard me rave about Jeffrey CCH and his Age of Civilization, a game that now comfortably sits in my top 100 games of all time. And then more recently, I discovered another one of his, Inheritors. Oh my gosh, there is so much game in this tiny little box of cards. It's absolutely incredible. And I'm absolutely loving it. So Both of these games came out years ago, and I totally missed the boat. But now I am ahead of the curve because I've got an advanced copy of Epoch's Course of Cultures, Jeffrey's next big game. And this is the biggest thing he has ever done. And there's so many special elements in this civilization building game. I feel like I can't possibly cover everything in this short little intro, but let's just go on ahead to the overhead view. And I'm going to try, if I can, to summarize what makes this game really stand out for me. There's a lot of cool features you don't see in most 4X Civilization games. Like the flexibility you have. You've got a handful of cards that are different kinds of inventions that will give you special powers and whatnot. But what if you've got cards in your hand from the draw that you just don't like, that don't fit your strategy? Discard them, and you can instead use them as extra actions you can do out on the main board. They're multi-use cards, basically, and I love that flexibility. But even more than that, I love that this game has so much positive interaction between players, because when I make one of those inventions, I also get resources, but so do my neighbors. That's not something you normally see, that a rising tide floats all boats. And, it wouldn't be a 4X game if I couldn't raise an army to destroy your cities and take over the countryside, right? And that is definitely here. But instead of focusing on that, I can engage in trade negotiations with my fellow players around the board. And if anything, that's more lucrative than me trying to destroy them. Interestingly, the combat elements of the game, they're here, they're smart. There's kind of a set collection thing, there's dice rolling, all that stuff you'd like. But if you attack somebody, if you outright declare war, you become a warmonger, which means you suffer big penalties. Your culture will suffer, which means your government won't be able to advance as far, and you won't be able to engage in trade with anybody. And if that weren't enough, once you're a warmonger, other players can attack you without suffering any of the same penalties because you were the bad guy. So if you want to make a war engine for yourself, you've really got to invest heavily in that and make it worthwhile. But a Care Bear like me, I don't want to do that, which is why I love that these are multi-use cards. If I don't like the warfare cards I was dealt, I discard them and instead expand or invest in science. Oh, I love the way science works too, because as I work up the science track and unlock more bonuses, this is a communal science track. It's not just my knowledge. Once I've made it up to level 2, everybody has access to level 2 science bonuses. Once somebody else makes it up to level 5, then I'm one step away from level 6. Again, this is as much about players benefiting from other civilizations as it is about them trying to tear each other apart. Although, again, that is there if you want it. And it's designed in a very smart, elegant, fast-playing way. There are so many things that I could tell you about that really make this game so unique amongst its fellow Civ-style games out there. And you may have noticed on screen, there's a super fast video of me demonstrating how it plays. If you want to know more about the game, folks, I've already put up a preview on the channel. There's a link for it down in the show notes. But here in this format, I can only barely scratch the surface. Let me just say in closing, Jeffrey CCH in the past has incredibly impressed me with his small box designs, and now he has knocked it out of the park with his first big box design, Epoch, Course of Cultures, which is crowdfunding now. So if you'd like to know more, folks, you can follow the link down in the show notes, or hit that eye in the top right corner of the screen. Phew. And otherwise, I'm going to say, take it away, gang. It's time for the R&R.
And thank you, Richard. Welcome, folks, to the R&R Show. I'm Ruel Gaviola, joined by Chris George. Chris, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. How is everybody at home? Disappointed because Ray's not here, but that's okay. We still have a fun show. I'm still excited to be here, hanging out with you, Ruel. It's always the highlight of my year of just when they're all accumulated together.
Yes.
I'm excited. That game sounds good though.
Does it though?
I really like. I love multi-use cards. I love the idea of being able to just discard something that doesn't work with your strategy, especially with having multiple strategies.
Yeah. I'm the same
yeah.
way, and I am familiar with Jeffrey CCH. That game, Age of Civilization, I was calling it Tiny Epic Civ game back in the day, a couple of years ago, because it was fantastic. Richard was right,
Yeah.
and I've heard nothing but good things about Inheritors, so I'm looking forward to that. Again, folks, check the show notes below for more information on the crowdfunding campaign. But now we're going to shift gears a little bit. That looks really promising, but we're going to go to the disappointing games of last year, Chris. So
Yeah.
put on the sad face. We are going to be talking about some games that didn't live up to our expectations, right? So
yeah, I think it's important to sort of qualify that, like how we made our lists. For me, a lot of these games were games that I really wanted to like. You know what I mean? And maybe I didn't like them to the extent that that other people did like. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But I think it's worth noting. I think these sorts of videos are important in terms of talking about what we like personally in a game, and these things that might have disappointed us might actually be highlights for other people as well. I think it's important to find those salient points and bring them out and be like, hey, this is the feeling of the game, and like, here's why I didn't like it, but maybe somebody else can. So that's what I like with these videos as well too. I think they're important and fun in that way, and it makes me feel less bad too, starting with that premise.
Exactly. Yeah, now I don't feel as bad because of that.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I was approaching it too. Like, these are obviously my personal tastes for games, and I had personal expectations, and they didn't live up to them for whatever reason, which we'll talk about real soon here. And they're by no means they're they're games for everybody, and we all don't align on our tastes, and something I don't like you may like, or Richard may like. So keep that in mind, folks, as we talk about these. Chris, we're gonna let you kick things off.
Yeah, and important to note too, these are games that were released in 2023. It's not necessarily like we played a lot of games. Some other games might have had lower lows, and definitely there were for me. Because 2023 is a pretty good game, pretty good year for board gaming. But it's just important to, these are the games that are sort of released in 2023. And exactly like you said, Ruel, sometimes you may not like a game and I might be right, and sometimes I might not like a game and you might be wrong. So it's completely subjective to all those sorts of things.
Well, on that note, yes, Chris, take it away.
And I'm ready to be mean here. I'm ready to pop the hype bubble. This is a game that I like. I like this game, but I put it on this list for two reasons. One, to see Richard's head explode, and two, because it didn't necessarily live up to the hype, which was every single person's number one game of 2023. There's sort of a ranking going around online that somebody put every content creator or media person's like list, and I have a cattail in my in my face, and that's fine because we're talking about all creatures on the earth. This is Earth, which makes our number 12. And I like Earth, okay? I think Earth is good. I think it is a good game, and I can see how it resonates with people, but I also think that there were better games in 2023 that are more deserving of the top title. And I think where the disappointment fell for me, I was really hoping that this would be a hit with my partner, and she wasn't the biggest fan of it either. She thought it was just good. Like, we'll both play it. We'll both enjoy it. When I reviewed it on the channel, I gave it a seal of approval. I gave it like 4 out of 5. And it's wild that like a 4 out of 5 rating can warrant disappointment. But I think it's important, worth talking about too, that especially when things are on people's lists, like, and everybody's talking about it, everybody's giving it 10 out of 10, right? There is this sense of expectation that really, really builds up. And inevitably, there are going to be people that it hits where it doesn't hit that expectation, right? There are so many people who still have it at a 10 out of 10, but there are a bunch of people who haven't tried it yet. And for them, I say, definitely try it. It's on Board Game Arena. It's a very popular game. People are really enjoying it. But I think you need to know that it's more of a solo based game, right? Like, the follow mechanic is wonderful for simultaneous play, but I've never really seen it hit that much interactivity. It's more like, if you see what your opponent is doing, then you can get some actions to sort of flesh that out. I've played a lot of this game still. I've been playing a lot of it on Board Game Arena. I'm pretty good at it. I put a strategy guide for it because it's also in the World Series of Board Gaming's upcoming lineup. And There's a lot of really good things about this game. This isn't a knock to Earth. Earth is fine if I'm saying that it's good and not the best board game in the entire world. But I feel like it's been talked about in that light, and
Yeah.
so that's why it is on the disappointment. And I do want to share. I was talking to my partner about it. These were some of my partner's thoughts. They said, "Why did they not make it cute at all? Like it's like Timu National Geographic. All the animals look sad or scared. It's like the Guinness World Book of Records spat up some animals. And it said, cubes? What are with the cubes? Do you see cubes in nature? How many squares do you see in nature? Circles for the plant leaves. And then she said it should have been space themed. It was a waste of a nature theme. She said, "Why are the trees not green? Why are the trees different colors?" My girlfriend really likes aesthetic games.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I don't mind the aesthetics of this, but I just thought those quotes were funny.
I
So I also wanted to share those as well.
Yeah, I actually think your partner hit on something here, Chris. I think that is a perfect thing to talk about because I had the same problem where,
Hmm.
again, I really love this game. I really enjoy it. I think it's fantastic. But along your lines of talking about how everyone was hyped about it, was it the greatest
Yeah.
game last year? I don't think so either. But
Yeah.
what your partner
It
was
was
talking about,
definitely a good game.
yeah, no, it's solid,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
absolutely solid. The gameplay's smart. It's really well done. But yeah, why did we do like just? I felt like the artwork and whatnot was along those lines of Terraforming Mars, where I wanted something a
Mhm.
little more, I don't know, lively, I guess. Which
Yeah.
you could have easily done. You know, I'm a sucker for cute critters. Wait, could we not have any cute critters here? You know, I mean, it's
Yeah,
Earth, right?
you and my girlfriend both.
Yeah, you know, but it doesn't take away. It was, I mean, it was in my top 3 of last year. I'm not gonna lie. It was top 3
Yeah.
last year. It's fantastic. Again, I'm being a little nitpicky as far as the art. And full disclosure, I just did a played run through of the expansion.
The abundance.
Abundance is really good, Chris. You may
Cool.
have to. I don't know if you tried. You may have to try.
I
that
haven't
one.
tried it yet. No, I
Yeah,
haven't tried it.
it's really good and really smart. And what I love about that expansion is it kept the same core gameplay, yet it added a few things that I think they're going to, you know, people that sort of had a problem with the game may look at it as like, oh, this is interesting. I may have to
But do we need to add things? Like there's too many options in Earth sometimes. Like I love in the rule book,
Okay.
they say turn your cards around in your hand because you're going to be inundated with cards. And I love that as a tip for people to just be
Yeah.
like, okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Right. Like
Yeah.
it feels like there's so many options. And if you like that in your games, for sure, I
Yeah.
like that in my games. All
Yeah.
like the plethora of points. But I can't even conceptualize what abundance could add that like the original doesn't already bring.
Yeah, and you know it makes it well, like there's a resource called seeds that makes like converting stuff a little easier. It gives you another
Okay.
option, so it's not
Cool.
like, hey, we're just going to give you like 1,000 new cards. It's definitely
Right.
They do
right.
give you new cards, but there's a couple of resources and mechanisms that add that I think warrants a second look. If you've already sort of like said, Earth's not
Cool.
me. For me, I would say it may be with this expansion, but
I mean,
yeah.
it's still on my shelf. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
still will
yeah.
play it.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you can see it there. I'm not getting rid of mine. So
I just think like it's in that sort of good game territory rather than like my favorite game of all time.
yeah, and this is what we're doing, folks. This is the spirit of the list, right? These for whatever reasons, these games have disappointed us for whatever you know reasons we have, but I love Earth. I'm not gonna lie. So good choice, Chris. Way to kick things off with our number 12.
Well, I'm excited to hear what Richard has to say because
I
I
am
know
too.
his head's going to explode. I know he was tossing and turning all night. Just he could feel it. He could feel a disturbance in the force.
totally. That's Richard there. You know, I think that's a perfect segue. You know, speaking of Richard's head exploding, what I'm about to do will definitely make his head explode. I mean, follow up number 12, Earth, with my number 11, which, again, full disclosure, this is one of my top 10 games of all time. It is the Castles of Burgundy Special Edition. I'm never getting rid of
100%
this.
agree.
I'm not.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not getting rid of this, but I have problems with it, Chris. I have problems. As you can see here in Richard's playthrough, he's playing with, look at those tiles. He's not using the little buildings. So I'm just sort of bitter that I went
because
all
they're
in.
pointless.
Yeah,
yeah, they're
right.
pointless. They're completely pointless.
Totally.
I know so many people went all in on the little buildings,
Yep.
and they're like, "Oh wait, it actually impacts the gameplay in a negative way.
Yeah.
Because you can't see your board and the numbers on your board or numbers on other people's boards.
Yes, and
Just
that's why
ludicrous decision.
Yeah, right. And I was like so bummed because, okay, I knew what I was getting myself, and I think we all knew what we're getting ourselves into. Like, we're buying all these, minis and stuff. If we really thought about it, it's like, is this really going to help the gameplay? It's going to look pretty, but when you actually play it, it does get in the way of the game. And here's the big reason I'm really bitter, I guess, might be the correct word, but the gameplay, there's been 2 previous versions of Castle Burgundy, the first and second ones, and they are not known as colorblind friendly games. I was so hopeful, and I just expected this new version to be totally colorblind friendly.
Right.
I even commented on the very first day the campaign went live. I was like, "Yo, make sure this is colorblind friendly." They didn't. A lot of stuff is fixed, but not all of it, and that really, really bummed me out because I just dropped. Right. Well, we all dropped a certain amount of money. It was not cheap.
At least a couple hundred.
Hundred easily, right?
Yeah.
And I just expected to be really ready to play out of the box, which it was for the most part. But again, if you're like me or like other folks who have vision issues or colorblind issues, it's not totally colorblind friendly, folks. That was a huge disappointment for me. The Vineyards expansion, excellent. I'm not gonna lie, it's fantastic. I have not played the new solo game yet, but friends of mine swear by it. They say it's outstanding. So this disappointed me in for 2 reasons. The colorblind issues were one, and then the other issue was just the fact that I went all in. I didn't have to, but like many other folks,
true. The minis were an optional add-on.
They were,
but so are the acrylics. And but board gamers are. We understand the people that we are. Okay. Oh, you're here on the internet and a board gamer. You want to spend that all in.
Yeah.
And I get it, but I'm completely fine with my copy of Castles of Burgundy. Which I think
which one do you have?
Is the optimal. Just the anniversary. It's got a bunch of the expansions in there. Yep. One thing that I do love about the Awakened Realms version is you get 4 of each map. I think that's really nice. So if you all want to play the same map and you all want to play a different one than the base, I think that's really cool.
Right.
But I also don't think it's worth an extra $150.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And when we were doing this list together, Chris, or when we're putting our list together, I totally think about you on this one here because just bang for your buck. Right, this wasn't it. And I got FOMO. I get FOMO just like you all as well.
The gospel of the cheap is spreading. That's all I need to know.
Yeah. So now, having said that, this does not change my opinion of the game. I absolutely love this game. It'll still be in my top 10 of all time. Just this version really let me down. That's why it was our number 11 on the collective list of most disappointing games.
Well, let's turn it over to Richard to see. I can't wait to watch his head explode.
Yeah, here we go.
Let's see.
Get ready, folks. I'm thinking, you ever see that movie Scanners, where just like heads explode? Here we go. You may, I'll just put content warning just in case, folks. Richard.
Yeah.
Head explode, Richard, right now.
No. Chris, well, I'm gonna have to ask you to report to Rahdo HR and turn in your badges. You're fired. Ray, when you come back to the show, feel free to bring any new co-host you like because I'm done with these 2. Don't you listen to my beautiful, beautiful babies. Oh my gosh, these are 2 of the best games of all time. What are you talking about? Actually, I generally have no idea what they're talking about because, of course, I have pre-recorded this and I'm looking forward to hearing their thoughts. I mean, I know Chris knows better than to parrot the common talking point about Earth that it's not interactive because, I mean, heck, just yesterday I saw you do a phenomenal strategy guide for Earth on the World Series of Board Games channel. It was really, really nice. And you made a big deal about how you really have to pay attention and really be involved in what other players are doing. So this is just weird. I mean, I guess... Ruel, if your problem with the Burgundy Special Edition is that they did not put text on the back of the beautiful ceramic tiles, I'd agree with you there. I dumped my ceramic tiles, which was heartbreaking. But, that's just weird. Very weird. Very weird start. And let's continue, shall we? All right, so that was what, number 12 and number 11? Let's move on to number 10 on the list, Expeditions. And yeah, this is real heartbreaker for me. I was so excited. I've never actually played Scythe, always stayed away from it, but I'd heard this was, kind of a spiritual sequel to Scythe set in the same universe, but turned into a deck building game that was 100% Care Bear friendly, just all about building up, the best deck of cards. And I gotta say, there's a lot to love with Expeditions. But the problem I had with it, which I did talk about in a roundup after I had finished playing a portion of a game with Alex here, which it started out strong, but the more I played it, the more disappointed I was by the complete and total lack of scaling for 2 players. The game just felt so big and so wide open when I was playing with just Jen. It's like, man, there is no tension. There is almost no stress here at all. And it was just like, oh, that's too bad. I imagine at a higher player count, it would be definitely more engaging. I mean, this drove me so nuts that I actually spent time trying to retrofit the excellent solo rules, which, by the way, this is a better solo game than it is a 2-player game, quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned. So I tried to bring those solo rules and bring them into the 2-player experience, but ultimately it just didn't work. And so, I mean, heck, this is about disappointments. I was so excited going into this. I mean, Stonemaier has such an incredible track record with me and Jen that this one is just like, oh, yeah, that's nice. And so I was a bit disappointed by Expeditions. Now, I'm cautiously optimistic that this beautiful baby right here might take care of my problems. I'm actually going to be playing it next week for the first time, and wish me luck, folks. Maybe I will have to strike this one from the record, but for now, number 10 on our combined list is Expeditions. Okay, back to you guys.
It was worth it. 100% worth it.
That was totally worth it, right? The best bit Richard has ever done on the R&R show. Oh, we trolled him pretty hard there, Chris.
Oh no, but it's the truth. I mean, I think he'll agree with what we're saying. I mean, the other thing that I am disappointed about in terms of Earth is that my other cat fell asleep on my copy, and the other day as I was filming that's thing, adorable. And I'm disappointed that he'll never look that cute again. So there's that
oh
too.
My gosh, that was adorable. So our number 10 Expeditions, I have had that a copy of it for months now, and it is sat here, and I've heard the good and the bad of this game. And what Richard said, I didn't really hear the critiques as far as 2-player, but I did hear that people love it solo. So I think I'm just going to go straight into it solo and see how
just
it
play
is.
It solo.
Yeah.
That seems great. Yeah, I haven't played Expeditions either, but I quite enjoy Scythe. And it kind of just looks like Scythe 2.0 to me. So I think I will enjoy it as well, for sure.
Agreed. I'm a big Scythe fan as well. So we shall see. Okay. Thank you, Richard. I mean, that was totally worth it. That was fantastic, Richard. Thank you for that. Chris, let's continue with the list. You've got number 9.
I've got my number 9, and this is a game that I still think is quite a good deal on Kickstarter. I feel bad because they currently have a campaign running, but I think it's important to contextualize who the game is for, and a mechanic that I thought would be more prevalent that wasn't as prevalent. This is Dragonbond Lords of Vaala, and I still think this is quite a nice game if you're in the mode for a team game. And I think as a team game, it's quite fun. It's this programming game of you're either a dragon or you're a dragon general, and at some point you might link up and you might become a team together, and your first to 10 points wins. You're running around, you're collecting these gems as they appear at random places on the map, and you have to fight using your troops that you've amassed to fight the other people. It's a bit of an area control game, much more of a race than I was expecting. And what really sold me on the game, it was a phenomenal deal on the first Kickstarter, and it's still a pretty good deal right now. It was like $49 for the base game and for all their stretch goals, which were a ton of minis, which they ended up turning into their own standalone war game, which I'm very excited to try. It's a really, really cool concept, and there's a lot of things that they can add into it. What I was struck by my play is that it feels like a team game. It feels like you need 4 players and you need to want to play a team game. And I was under the impression going through that it was maybe a team game. And it feels like it's going to always push you in the direction of linking up with a dragon. Because basically, if you're a dragon, you can dragon bond with a dragon general. And that might happen if you end up sharing a space together. And I thought that idea of like, okay, you got to roll some dice. Maybe you'll unify. Maybe it'll make that end game condition a little bit harder to achieve. That idea of the potential of this game starting off solo, and then you might get drawn into a team, and then, or you can win solo and say, everybody, I'm going alone. Like, I love that idea, right? I love the idea that it can present for people around the table. But I think it's too easy to be dragon bonded. And I think it's almost an inevitability that one team will get dragon bonded. And then I think the power of that team is that like you just have to dragon bond with the other teammate. Like I don't think it's I feel in that like balance area, it doesn't feel like it is as possible to win it alone, or even as possible to not get dragon bonded. Like you can spend energy that you would spend on powers and abilities to like re-roll so that you can be dragon bonded, or so that you can not be dragon bonded.
Right,
And
right.
like I tried to not be dragon bonded. I was like, I don't want to be in an alliance with you. Like I want to win the game by myself. And then the fact that I was pulled into this alliance, like I couldn't, with the rolling, I couldn't re-roll worse to not unify with these people.
Yeah.
And so that was the disappointment there, is because I'm like, oh, okay, so now I know that this is a team game where you don't know who your partner is at the start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And going into it with that knowledge and saying, all right, so I could be partners with one of two people around the table. I'm going to trick this person that I'm going to be partners with them, and then I'm going to jump and be partners with the other person and leave them scrambling. Like that's a very fun dynamic to me,
Yeah.
but that's not the dynamic that I was expecting. And so I think it's important to note, I like the programming aspect. Everybody puts in a card face down until somebody passes. And when they pass, like everybody has to stop putting cards down. And so if you can get your plan off before somebody else does, and then just like pass, there's an interesting like push and pull there. But I think it really requires that 4-player count, and it really requires you to go in knowing that it's a team game. It's a team game. So that's why it makes the list in terms of it. I had a real clear expectation, because this is something that like I haven't interacted with them. I backed it with my own money. I thought it was an incredible deal on Kickstarter. It was my pick of the week for my crowdfunding countdown show. Like all those sorts of things. Very excited to receive it, and then the experience of it was significantly shifted from what I was hoping for, as at least with that base game, because I only go for the base game. I don't I didn't do the but yeah, that's Dragonbond, a really cool system. Just a buyer note of caution, I would say.
Right. So going in, you weren't expecting, hey, this is basically a 4-player game. It's team building.
Yeah.
I
kind of expected that it would be best at 4 players regardless.
Yeah.
Like at least I knew that going in. I was like, yeah, this is a 4-player game. But I thought that it might not be a team game, and it feels increasingly like, oh, it's only a team game. And so I dislike when games kind of push you in one direction, and it feels just like that you have to do it that way, essentially.
Yeah. It feels, shall we say, disappointing?
Disappointing.
Yeah.
It might be disappointing. So that's our number 9. What's our number 8, Ruel? Because I know you haven't had that much experience with Dragonbond, and I'm also being mindful of like let's blame it on Ray that these things go long, and not me who talks too much.
Exactly. Our number 8, Chris, is this was really disappointing, because I'm gonna tell you right now, we love this designer, and just by saying that, you probably know it's Reiner Knizia. The good doctor released a game. It was actually a redo of a game called, I think, Rondo. It's our number 8. It is a game called Sunrise Lane. And I was really sad putting this on here because, as you know, folks, we do love the good doctor here, Dr. Knizia. And this is basically a Ticket to Ride style game where you're just drawing cards and trying to match up the colors, and you're going to build buildings on Sunrise Lane. It's a beautiful game. It's got beautiful components. It's got what I consider classic Knizia style rules, where it's like a couple of pages of rules and you're off to the races playing the game. I just felt like the reason why it's disappointing, number one, I feel like every Dr. Knizia game that's coming out is going to be the greatest thing on Earth. And I realized that's not the case. When he's released over 700 games, there's going to be a few clunkers in there. This one disappointed me because I was so excited that I felt like I sort of discovered this game thanks to my buddy Daryl at Gen Con last year, because no one was talking about it. And I was like, wait, what is it? It's from Horrible Guild Games. They just did Evergreen, which I absolutely loved. I'm going to pick this one up, played it a couple of times, and like, maybe that's why people really aren't talking about it, because it was sort of like, it's a much lighter game than I expected. And I think a lot of people expected a little more here. I didn't think there wasn't much tension. Like, you could pretty much go where you wanted and build. I mean, there's some limitations, some stipulations. You have to build on a previously placed building or next to a previously placed building, and then you're just going to score points on how high your buildings are. Again, not a bad game. It's definitely a gateway style game, and I would call it, honestly, lighter than Ticket to Ride. So it may not be for me. I was disappointed because I expected more. I just felt like the Good Doctor, he usually has games that have that really nice level of tension in them, even with the most simplest mechanics, right? I think of Lost Cities. I think that's a perfect thing. Like, oh, what am I going to get rid of? What am I, I get rid of something first, then I draw something. Here, it's just draw cards, and then at a certain point, okay, play them to get your buildings. And again, not a bad game at all. I wouldn't call it a bad game, but as far as Dr. K is concerned, I think it's one of the weaker titles of recent times, and that's why it's our number 8 for most disappointing games, Sunrise Lane.
Kind of gives me like Sequence vibes a bit, if you remember that game, Sequence.
I remember that.
Just with the placement of stuff and the numbers. I don't know if it compares or not. You're the one who's played it, but
I mean, a little bit. It's got the getting stuff in a row and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, again, I expected way more than I got, and not that it was a bad game. It was disappointing personally for me. Number 8.
You hate Dr. Knizia as a person is what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Please don't quote me on that, folks. That was Chris saying that. That was all Chris.
Clip that. Just leave it out of context. There we go.
Yeah, we can just blame Ray. It's all Ray's fault. Let's move on to our number 7. Richard, what do you got for us?
All right, so what do we got next? Dragonbond. Yeah, I don't really know much about this one. I guess, Chris, you're not happy because there's too much dragon bonding in the game called Dragonbond? It's kind of right there in the title, I guess, if that is in fact your problem. I mean, I don't know, that's kind of like saying, boy, yeah, Photoshop, really nice, except for all the photoshopping you have to do. It'd be nice if you maybe did something else. I don't know. And what was yours? Oh, Ruel, Sunrise Lane. Oh, I feel bad for you. I know how much you love the Good Doctor, and so that must have been very heartbreaking because, man, I mean, I never played it, but I just read the rules, and it was so obvious that this is going to be one of the meanest, most black-hearted, knife-stabby games of the year. So, yeah, if you didn't know that going in, I could certainly see being disappointed, for sure. Anyway, though, let's move on to our combined number 7 on the list, shall we? It is a heartbreaker, and it's another Knizia title. It's My Island. And, this broke my heart so much. Jen and I were big fans of the prequel to this, My City. And both My City and My Island are designed by Rainer Knizia, and they're legacy games where you play through, I forget, it's like 20, 22, 24 individual games, but they're all very quick, like 15-minute long games. And over the course of the game, new stuff gets added to your tile laying shenanigans, and old stuff gets cycled out. And, the core ideas here are great, but it's like everything that My City did wrong, and it was kind of annoying there, Knizia said, you know what, I'm going to double down on that and make it even worse. And so, yeah, My Island was just such a heartbreaker. Mostly because after you finish the campaign, there is what's called the Eternal mode that you can keep playing. And when you start playing the Eternal mode, in My City, it was bad enough because the Eternal mode said, hey, why don't you just play, game 15 forever? right? Which means a lot of the really cool elements of the game that you really enjoyed and you wished would come back are just removed, even though they would totally work, and they're some of the coolest elements of the game, and it was kind of fun to see things come and go when you're playing through a campaign. But then you want to use the toys you have in your toy box, and the game says, no, you can never use this particular mechanism or that particular component ever again. And it was kind of annoying in My City, but at the end, at least the eternal game of My City was a pretty solid little tile laying game on its own. The problem with My Island is that, hey, once you finish, and there were so many cool things that got added to the game throughout, and you're like, wow, that's really awesome. And then you get to the eternal game, and we're going to be like, you're practically just playing the baby beginner game with nothing cool or special at all. They took everything. In My City, they took some of the cool stuff out and said, you can't play with this anymore. But in My Island, they took out everything. And I don't know why. It just makes no sense. It proves to me that Reiner Knizia does not know who I am, because I complained about this and said, Dr. K, please, if you ever do a follow-up to My City, don't make this mistake again. And instead, Dr. K said, hold my beer. I'm going to make it even worse. And so, My Island was a huge letdown disappointment. It was fun while it lasted, but just the tiniest bit of work in the Eternal game could have been phenomenal. But as it is, I've got to express some disappointment in number 7 of the year for us, My Island. Oh, bad year for Knizia fans.
Wow, I've got tears running down my face, folks. That's back-to-back Knizia games. The Good Doctor. What are you going to do?
I mean, I do want to picture a world where Reiner Knizia just did that to troll Rahdo. And I also want to picture a world where that's only Rahdo's copy.
Yeah.
And like, you just never knew until everybody starts to so post in the comments down below, be like, that he that's not what My Island, that's not in my copy. Like, and make him really just gaslight him.
I love it. Classic.
I haven't played My Island. My City is really good though.
Yeah.
So, but I've heard My Island isn't as good. Like, I've heard that on the street. But
Same.
My City is really good. You can play an entire campaign on Board Game Arena. Okay,
Yeah.
no reason not to play it. It's
exactly.
like very satisfying.
Yeah, I loved My City, and I didn't get around to My Island. And Richard's not the only one that was disappointed. There was a lot of folks that were unfortunately disappointed by that.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what's okay? What's fine about that is that Dr. K is going to come out with 10 new games this year anyway. So
That's true.
Put those behind you, and let's move on.
Shut them out.
Yeah. Chris, what do you got for us at number 6?
All right, number 6 is a standalone 2-player version of a game system that I was really excited to dive back into. It is the second standalone 2-player version of that same system, but I think this one is not as fun as the other one. And this is Too Many Bones Unbreakable. I quite enjoy Too Many Bones Undertow. I liked that stanza, one of the gear locks that you get in there. You get two gear locks, 2 players that you can play, 2 characters. One is very simple to learn, and one has more of a learning curve. And depending upon your group, right, like, you may not want to have one character be super complicated and the other character not being complicated. That was my critique for Undertow. But overall, I think Undertow does a lot of fun stuff. It just adds to the base game, and you get a little raft where tentacles can grab you from the side of the raft, depending if you're fighting a whatever boss or whatever. Too Many Bones Undertow, or Too Many Bones Unbreakable, which is, you can see myself on the screen. We're looking at Gale. Which people have been talking about this in the comments in that video. They say they like Gale. I think Gale is one of the most boring gear locks ever invented, because the whole shtick of Gale is hey, super cool abilities that you might get. Yeah, we're just gonna lock those until you roll a bunch of misses and choose which one you want to unlock. I'm like, well, why are you just no, they're just too powerful. You just want to make sure that I don't have fun, powerful dice. They're like, yeah, we're just locking them. You just don't get to play with them. They're locked. So that's one thing. And I also just find Unbreakable to be a lot more fiddly than everything else. I think as a 2-player experience, this should not be your entry point into Too Many Bones, because I think Too Many Bones is a really fun system. But I think if you got in with Unbreakable, you may not think so. I think you might be put off by it a little, which is unfortunate, because I think it's a really good game, but I think it is it is very clearly an expansion designed for people who love the game and want to add more. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, okay, now you do this, and so for people who are familiar with the game, I think it might really cook for them. No pun intended. But for people for like a newer player experience, I've seen it fall flat when like people who are excited to play Too Many Bones. I was like, hey, I got to review this, come play it with me, and it not hit as much as I was hoping it to. Was very upsetting to me because I'm like, no, you don't know what you're missing, and now you'll never play this game again because it was too fiddly, it was too long, you know. Whereas the other versions I feel are a bit more streamlined, a bit more user friendly, and I would absolutely say if you're starting out with Too Many Bones, don't start with Unbreakable.
Yeah.
Do start with Undertow. I really enjoy Undertow, especially in contrast to this.
Yeah.
So that's why it's my number 6. Just having that comparative experience. Quite enjoy Undertow. Figment's pretty cool. That's the other gear lock you get in Unbreakable. And I played Carcass, who's very fun in terms of he gets to basically murder baddies and then cook them in pots for extra bonuses. It's so funny. It's so funny. But then there's one main end villain in Unbreakable where like Carcass's thing is that he gets to take the bodies of all the baddies, and in this one all the bodies of the baddies just go into the holes on the map. And so like Carcass's ability, I mean technically it's used over like the rest phase, but it just is a lot less fun because you're like, oh, I don't have any people on my meat hooks dragging them around. Like the cool part of my character is just denied by this end game fiddly boss. So
that's a bummer.
Yeah, it was a bit of a miss for me. Like I still like it. I still will engage with the Too Many Bones system, but I probably would just like do Undertow quests with the other gear locks for me personally.
Right. And that's actually, you answered my question I had was how do you compare Unbreakable to Undertow? And you know,
the reason,
the
reason on the list is because Undertow is significantly better, I would say.
Yeah. Have you played the 20 Strong series of games from Chip Theory? The little ones?
I haven't played some of the other decks, but I'm playing through them literally right now.
Nice. I really enjoyed that series. I think it's a wonderful way, implementation, and that's how I would like personally introduce people to that world, right? Well, let's start with this little deck of cards and go from there.
Yeah, because there's a Too Many Bones Too Many Bones deck. I've only played the base game so far, but I'm excited to get to Victorum and that
same,
you know, and put out a review on that for sure.
All right, cool. Okay, so that was our number 6, folks. We got our top 5 coming up. Just want to remind y'all that we do an extended edition of the show. We record this live on Twitch, so be sure to click on the links below. Check that out because Chris and I, we do some fun stuff before we record, and then afterwards, Richard talks about more games, and actually Chris and I as well talk about the games that didn't make the list, and we also talk to those who view it live. We're going to find out what some of their disappointments were as well. But continuing with our list, I've got our number 5 as the collective. That is a game, again, that I thought automatically I would just absolutely love, Chris. This falls into my type of jam. It is a quick card-playing game with art by Vincent Dutray. It's a 2-player game, 15 minutes or so, and it just didn't live up to the hype for me. It's a game called Yokai Sketch. This came out, I believe, it came out last year. That's what we're doing, 2023 games. This actually reminded me of a game from back in the day called Piñata. And in Piñata, it's basically you're trying to do area control with the different elements there. You have those cards that are numbered 5, and you're playing cards there, the matching colors, in order to gain control of those. And what you do is you have a hand of cards, you play one, then you draw one, and it's a really classic feel of a game. It reminds me a lot of that game Piñata, and actually I felt like it was a little more streamlined than that one, which I liked. But I don't know what it is. I felt like when I was talking about Sunrise Lane earlier, there wasn't much tension in the game, and I felt like that was the case here. I never felt like, oh, I wish I could have done that. Instead, I'm doing this. No, I mean, there were times when, oh, I'm bummed that I didn't do this, but there was always options, which is nice. And maybe that's the case where this is meant to be a family-friendly game. But I'm going to tell you the main reason why this made the list for me it's from Devere Games. And I just expect these days, Chris, anything by Devere is like gold. And I just
good.
I just expected, okay, it's got Vincent Dutrait art. It's from Devere Games. This is probably going to be my top 5 card games of the year. And it wasn't. It just, again, not everything's going to hit. It's not a bad game at all. I've played it multiple times. And if you said right now, let's play some Yokai Sketch, sure, I would totally play it. But it wasn't like, the game.
Let's play some Yokai Sketch.
Sure.
Let's do it.
All right. We're going to end the show
right
here.
now.
Let's
play
some
the
No, but seriously, I mean, it's, again, I cannot fault the game. It's a nice design. Again, the art is beautiful. But if you look at the art, Vincent Dutrait, right? Look at most of the cards. They're mainly abstracted, like little, paws and whatnot. Yes, there are some, you can see some of the artwork, but the majority of the artwork is just symbols and icons, which makes it easy for players that have colorblind issues like myself. But I want to see some of that beautiful art a little more prominently. But again, I feel like I'm nitpicking here. It's not a bad game at all, but it is disappointing because it's from Devere, has Vincent Dutrait art. That's why it's our number 5 on the list, Yokai Sketch.
That's fair. I find anything that's Devere that's bigger than this small box size.
Yeah,
I absolutely love.
Yep.
Anything that's small box size, I kind of go, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
it's
totally
fine.
All right, let's see what Richard's got for us at number 4.
All right. Let's see. Too Many Bones, Unbreakable. Confession time. I've never played Too Many Bones, so I don't really have much to say here. Wasn't this the one that's like a 2-player only game, so it's actually better because it's quicker to play or something like that? I don't know. I've looked at it, I thought, well, that looks kind of neat, but I'm sure Jen wouldn't like it. Maybe someday I'll give it a try. I don't know. And Ruel, Yokai Sketch, yeah. Actually, this one I did play, and it was fine, I guess, but I could certainly see why one would be disappointed. At this point, we expect so much more from Devere. They just keep knocking it out of the park. And if you're gonna get Vincent Dutrait to do your art, don't make it a game where 80% of the art is just a bunch of abstract color swatches. I want to see more Vincent Dutrait art in a Vincent Dutrait arted game. And then, of course, it was just basically an in-your-face 2-player. Oh, I see what you did there. That's going to score you a lot of points. No, it's not. Boom, that's mine now. I guess it's okay. I don't know. But anyway, what's number 4 on our list? I'm glad you asked. Which, by the way, Ruel, that is a habit I have totally picked up from you. I never used to say I'm glad you asked, but now I say it all the time. I'm glad you asked, Ruel. Number 4 on our combined list is Oranienburger Kanal, which breaks my heart. Actually, it kind of breaks my heart, not because of the game, but because it broke my wife's heart. Jen is making a special guest appearance because, first of all, let me just tell you, this is a new, worker placement, Euro-style game from Uwe Rosenberg, and honestly, the core tiling, although it's card tableau building you're doing in this game is some of the best design Uwe Rosenberg has ever done. This is maybe like in top 5 of all time, just in terms of raw gameplay. And I really respect it a lot. Yes, the worker placement portion of the game is a little ho-hum, pedestrian, kind of vanilla, nothing really exciting about it. But, what you're actually doing the worker placement for is very, very cool. So, how does a potential greatest of all time Rosenberg design make it onto most disappointed for 2023? Icons. The unfortunate decision to try to make the game 100% language independent, which I totally understand and am sympathetic towards. That, hey, you want to, as a publisher, try to ensure as many people can play as possible. This game, the further you play, and you get to some more heavy cards, and by the way, there's a lot of expansion content for it, and the more we dug into it, Jen and I, and the more we looked at, what does this card mean? What does this card mean? What does this card mean? It is such an opaque, inscrutable language. It starts out simple enough, but the longer you play, the tougher it gets. And Jen just got so incredibly frustrated having to constantly go back and check the rulebook. We don't want to learn a foreign language. Honestly, It probably would have been easier for us if it had just all been in German, because Jen and I took German in college. That's where we met, than trying to learn this iconographic language. And again, it starts out simple enough, but some of them just get so weird. And that's fine. I understand. I am just very disappointed that this didn't take a what do you call it? A page from Queen Games. Yes, Chris, Queen Games, who did the same thing with the Bruges remake, Hamburg. They said, hey, let's make it language independent and just throw an epic bajillion icons at the player, but because they were trying to make it language independent so they could have better sales worldwide again. An understandable goal, and they realized, whoa, this is going to be hard for people. Let's make an extra optional thing you can buy on the side that puts all the cards in just simple, easy-to-read text. They already wrote up all the text from Oranienburger Kanal to have this big cheat sheet you have to check against. Just give me an option. I would have happily paid $20, $30 to get a set of all the cards without the icons replaced with text. It worked fantastically in Hamburg and made that game so much more playable. And so it is very disappointing that what could have been in my top 10 games of the year is a game that ultimately ended up going to the Dice Tower West library, the convention, because I would never get a chance to play it again because Jen just flat out refused. This game made her angry. It's over-reliance. I hadn't seen anything quite this deep since, again, there was Hamburg, but Hamburg fixed it. And then you go way back to like Tournai or something like that. It's just, a word is worth 1,000 icons, and no game really proves that more than number 4 on our combined list, Oranienburger Kanal. Broke my heart.
Wow, I'm really surprised about this. Now I've not played this, but I know the brothers Murph, Nick and Mike Murphy, they absolutely love this game. So it's really interesting to hear Richard and Jen's experience. I would tend to agree. As much as I love icons, give me just a little bit of text as well.
Yeah, it's always tough, right? Like you want a game to be intuitive, and you want to be able to learn that language. And any game, like you pick a Mind Clash game, you're going to have to learn a whole new language, right? Like Anachrony, you're going to have to learn a whole new language. But eventually it has to click. And if it doesn't get to that clicking point, even if the game is really good, I've also heard, I was very surprised that it was on a list as well. I've heard from a few of like my patrons who have the game and love it and say like it's the best Uwe Rosenberg ever, like just number one.
Yep.
And it didn't really do that well on crowdfunding either. I don't know if we're ever going to really see this in retail or wide distribution, but that's really tough. It's really tough when you have that barrier to entry in an already what's going to be a decently complex game strategy wise, because it's Uwe Rosenberg. That's always hard to hear, and that'll be the barrier to get it off of your shelf, right? If you hit that barrier, you're not going to get to be able to access the incredible design, and that's a real shame for sure really when that happens.
It's such a disappointment, Chris, right?
Yeah, exactly. What should we call this title of this video? I don't know. We'll figure it out later. On to number 3, I guess.
Speaking of disappointments, we've got 3 more. Chris, why don't we take things back to you for number 3?
All right. Well, I said I was going to be nice to games, and this is where it stops. I just really, I don't. This is one of the game when I see people posting about it on Facebook or something. I just don't understand how people are enjoying this whatsoever. I don't get it. And I can kind of get it. Maybe it hit for them. It didn't really hit for me. This is from Lucky Duck. It's Kiri-Ai the Duel. This is a very small card game. You can put it in your pocket. Maybe it's 18 cards. I haven't counted. And I'm not a huge like small card game person anyway, right? I don't feel the need to have the 18 cards in my pocket to pull out, but I was really excited with this one. I'm like, you know what? This is the one that's going to do it. It's got this little rock, paper, scissors, not really rock, paper, scissors, but it's got the idea of reading your opponent's mind. Essentially, you have a bunch of cards in your hand. You can see them laid out in front of you, and they'll let you either attack at a certain spaces in front of you. You know, this attack hits 2 spaces ahead of me. This attack hits my spot directly. This attack moves me back 1, you know? And so the goal is to anticipate your opponent's movements and strike them once they've moved somewhere. You're going to have simultaneously sort of reveal, and you'll do your things. and if you hit the person where they are, they'll take damage, and you want to kill the other samurai before they kill you. In a premise that sounds great. I love mind games in my games. I love the ability to try to like read the opponent. In practice, I just found this very simple.
Mhm.
It really was like, hey, are you going to stay still or are you going to move? I don't know. It's like both options are equally good, and there's no real way for me to sense which you're doing one way or the other. I know all the cards that you've discarded. It's not hard to keep track. You have these special move cards that everybody gets one special move. That's the orange card that people can you get randomly. There's one special card that nobody has, so you don't know what special card your opponent has, and ooh, that attack might get you. Yeah, okay, it gets you once. You still have to take like 2 hits to die. So
Mm.
then it becomes it just the decision space is just fine. It's okay. And I've seen so many people post about it online. I don't know, maybe it's in my search results now, but they're like, this is the best game. We're gonna pull it out. We're like, this is perfect for travel. I'm like, but what? Just read a book. Just like have a conversation. I would much rather do both of those things. And I never learned how to read or interact with humans. Like, no, I've never learned either of those things, and I'd rather attempt it than with Kiri-Ai. It's fine. Like, it's a cute little card game. Maybe it'll be your style,
Yeah.
but I just found that the reading of the opponents just didn't really exist for me, and the cards are also a weird texture. And
Oh.
it's probably to keep it like good quality. I
Uh-huh.
assume it's probably a better quality than regular cards, but it also gives me that like nails on a chalkboard feel.
Oh.
Like,
Yikes.
and that might just be me. That might just be like a me textural feel thing,
Uh-huh.
and it does not affect other people. But I'm for sure that has an impact on like I don't even want to like touch it again
Ugh.
because it's like a physical response to it. It could just be me. I
Yeah.
think it's probably just me. It's not the people who are appearing on my Facebook feed. But that's anyway. Kiri-Ai the Duel
Yeah.
was just okay.
Yeah, it's again just based on what I've seen and heard. It seems fine, but I feel like there's probably better options, and it's again it's not a bad game, and it's not for us. But I felt like I hadn't played it, but I felt like after reading the rules, I was like, I'd probably play this once or twice and just move
Yeah.
on, which is perfectly fine. So, okay, let's go. We got 2 more games. I've got the next one here. This one's from AEG, and the last few years AEG as I felt like they've been really knocking it out of the park with a lot of their games, and
Hmm.
the one I'm about to talk to wasn't one of them, unfortunately. And I was bummed because I was all about the theme. It's a game, our number 2. It's called Waffle Time. So you mentioned waffles, Chris, and
I've played this.
I'm excited. I mean, you know how much I love food, and
Yeah.
this one here, Michelle and I played through it. We did a live stream of it. It is a puzzly type of game. It is one of those where, hey, you've got some resources you got to manage. In this case, the different toppings for your waffle. As you can see, we each have a waffle, and it's an abstract game in its heart where you're drafting the various things you're going to put on your waffle, the toppings. And at any point in the game, if you have a certain pattern, which you can see there on those cards, you'll receive syrup, and you'll put those syrup on different things and score points based on the end game goals, where the syrup is, like you want in a cross shape, or you want like a little box or whatnot. Perfectly fine game. I like the whole mechanism. Like, you go around each side, you're going to place your token, and depending on how far away you are from the little turn order thing, that will determine turn order for the next round. Again, not bad. It's just, I don't know. I felt like there's other games that that Michelle and I have in our collection. This sort of like abstracty thing where you're trying to match patterns. I feel like we have quite a few of those, and this one just didn't live up to the hype. Again, I see waffles, I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be an all-time favorite, and it wasn't. Not a bad game at all. Just disappointing in the fact that it's a game called Waffle Time, and honestly, it made me hungry for waffles, but it didn't make me hungry enough to play the game more than like say 4 or 5 times. So
I think the biggest disappointment for this one for me is that you don't fill your whole waffle.
yeah,
Like
right,
it doesn't get tight.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it just there's I mean there's always things to do. It's perfectly fine. You get the little cream or whatever you can put on top of certain toppings.
Yeah.
And again, it's a fine game, and it's got that nice variability of the different goals and whatnot. But overall, just didn't hit well with me and my main game partner Michelle. So that's why it's our number 2 on the list. Most disappointing games, Waffle Time.
Yeah, I think my girlfriend still wants a copy of this. We played it together, and she quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But she also really likes Tiny Towns, right? And I think I
Okay.
don't see I see a similar vibe of this in Tiny Towns.
Yeah.
I don't see myself opting for Waffle Time over Tiny Towns necessarily
Yeah.
many times.
That is a great point. I didn't even put two and two together. Chris, that is perfect. Like, I love tiny towns, and this does have
Mm.
a familiar vibe, almost a similar vibe to it, and I would always pick tiny towns over Waffle Time. But again, maybe Waffle Time for folks, if it's that theme, maybe it's the food theme will
Yeah.
get it. It'll be easier to get to the table with other folks, but
It's probably going to end up in my collection, to be honest,
yeah.
because Renee likes it.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
like,
I love
but
it.
I also agree with you. I think it's like, it's good. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'll play it. I
Hell
won't be upset that I played it, but,
Same.
you know,
Yeah. All right.
yeah.
So that's our number 2. Let's go to Richard to wrap up everything with our number 1 most disappointing game of 2023.
Okay, here we come, down to the wire. And honestly, I don't understand either of these. Chris, isn't Kiri-Ai, it's just a rock. I mean, did it ever advertise itself as anything other than rock, paper, scissors with a lot of bluffing and a Bushido Blade style, setting? I thought people really loved this one by and large, and I think it delivers on exactly what it says on the box, and I know you do your research, is the thing. It's kind of like your whole jam, so how did this sneak up on you? Did it not deliver exactly what it says? Again, I look forward to watching this, because of course I'm pre-recording. And Ruel, yeah, Waffle Time. Honestly, anytime Tom Vassell slags off a game, that makes me more inclined to try it. And so, I totally missed this one, and it is from AEG, so I'm inclined to give it the benefit of the doubt because they seem to be on fire, but I never actually got a copy of it. But I know Tom was really just, very down on it, so I guess it's a good thing I fired you back at the beginning of this episode because, hey, now you can use this as a calling card to get on the Dice Tower. I don't know. It's certainly something I would like to give a try to. I'm not expecting this is going to, rock my socks off or, replace Calico or anything like that, but it looks like a nice enough, polyomino tile layer. It seems like the coolest thing about it is that there's no randomness, right? That everything is preordained, very patchwork-esque in that regard. At the end of the day, it's a tile laying game about putting toppings on waffles. How bad could it be? I look forward to hearing what you have to say. But, folks, we started this countdown, slaughtering some sacred cows, and we're going to end it because I expect there's definitely going to be some comments when I reveal our combined number 1 on the list is Ticket to Ride Legends of the West. The latest design team up between Matt Leacock and Rob Davio, both of them working with Alan Moon to turn Ticket to Ride, one of the most successful modern designer board games in the world, into a legacy campaign, doing what they have done to such great effect with Pandemic in a lot of different ways. And there was no game for 2023 that I was more excited about than this because I have loved what the guys have done with Pandemic. And while, I guess Ticket to Ride kind of has a warm spot in my heart because it was one of the early games I played. Ticket to Ride Europe was my Ticket to Ride of choice. Ticket to Ride itself was never quite enough. But, I expected great things. And honestly, man, the game does start off really strong. And there's a lot of really wonderful component choices that were made in the development of this game. The fact that you're not trying to put stickers on a board, which made, Pandemic... The later Pandemic legacies such a pain to do. Instead, you're building up a jigsaw puzzle that slowly reveals itself as you head west. I thought that was really, really nice. And there were some very, very cool additions to the Ticket to Ride formula. Nothing more so than adding objectives event cards. But you know what? Honestly, if you go back and watch my run-through, here I am playing it with Jen, and then I did kind of a crossover Final Thoughts with Amy and Maggie. Even from the very first game, I was starting to worry, because while it was very, very cool to add an event-based system to Ticket to Ride, I was shocked how poorly it was implemented. It was just, really actively kind of made the game worse, even though it should have made the game better. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know what? They tried for something. It didn't work out. Here's an easy fix for it, which I talked about in the video. Let's keep going. And, and then over time, more stuff gets unlocked. You expand the board. You do put stickers on the board, but just not those big, gigantic stickers like Pandemic Legacy Season 2. I didn't mean to mislead. There's still stickering aplenty in this game, and I love that kind of stuff. But here's the deal. It started with the events, and almost without exception, every single new mechanism that gets drip-fed into the game over the 12 sessions you are going to play of this game, I felt was implemented at best poorly and often so mind-bogglingly bad that I'm just like, three of the greatest, most renowned designers of all time, did you really work on this together? I was just flummoxed, floored. And now, I would love to go into detail. I would love to say why Mechanism X could have been amazing but was garbage, and why Mechanism Y would have been phenomenal if they just made this one little change, but instead it did this other way that would have made it horrible. But beat after beat, chapter after chapter, I was constantly flummoxed and just blown away by how poorly these choices were, these cool ideas were so horribly implemented. I've never seen anything like it. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's because we played all the way through from start to finish as a two-player game, and traditionally Ticket to Ride does not work very well as a two-player game because the world is so big, and certainly very little was done to actually deal with scaling. I mean, in fact, actually nothing. That's another thing. Oh man, the final scoring at the end of the campaign, when I found out how it worked and how it basically just kind of spit in the face of two-player gamers and like, oh, because you were playing this two-player, this whole thing that you've spent half of the 12-chapter campaign on is meaningless. It's literally has no meaning whatsoever because we couldn't have done the most basic work to scale this for two players. I just don't know what to do. I appreciate that they did put in internal mode, unlike all the pandemics, sadly, where I had to basically go after the fact and design post-campaign play for them, at least for Legacy 0 and Legacy 1. You can't really do it for Legacy 2. I appreciate they did that, but, I mean, heck, I was unhappy how they did that also. It was very much shades of my complaints about the eternal post-campaign game of My Island. They made the same mistakes Knizia made, so yeah, I'm sorry. Matt, Rob, Alan, I'm still a fan. And I'm very, very happy that the game was a huge hit. And it seems like I am very, very, very much in the minority, in my opinion here. I've seen almost nobody else complaining about all these issues. And again, I'd love to give specifics, but I don't want to spoil things. Just bear in mind, here's one old curmudgeonly gray-haired man shouting, "Get off my lawn, Ticket to Ride Legends of the West. You disappointed me. You disappointed me bad." And that's it. Oh, wait, folks, don't forget the post show. Links for it down in the show notes. Post show. I've got 6 more games that I need to tell you about that also broke my heart. So, hope to see you there, and back to you guys.
Okay, this surprised me, but I will say this about Ticket to Ride Legacy. Friends of mine that have played, they enjoyed it, but they didn't play, the ones that I know did not play a two-player game. They had a little problem with the scoring as well. So, again, without spoilers, I don't know what it's about because I've not played through it. I still want to play through it. I love Ticket to Ride, and I love the fact that they did a Legacy game of this, but interested to see how my reaction is to this because I've heard good things and lukewarm things about this game, Chris.
I've only dreamt about Ticket to Ride Legacy. I've played it. I've played scenarios 1 and 2 as a dream. I don't own it. Never opened the box. That's one of the first times I've seen the map. But I've played a version of it, and you know what? It was okay. A bit confusing on the rules. Not like not completely solidified. But yeah. Maybe that might be that might be. The rule book was made out of marshmallow. So I mean, like. I thought that was a weird choice. What can you do?
Oh my goodness. So folks, those are our top 12 most disappointing games of 2023. Again, like Richard said, be sure to click on the links below because we're going to do a live after show where we're going to talk about more games that did not make the list. And on behalf of Chris and Richard, we are going to say adieu, and I want to thank our sponsors, Epoch's Course of Cultures, for sponsoring this episode of the R&R Show. Until next time, we'll see you later. Take care. So long. Bye-bye. And we are back, friends, for the post show. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for all the comments during the show, folks. We appreciate it. We want to let you know that we're here for a few more minutes. We're going to share Richard's list. Chris and I will talk about ones that didn't make the list.
He'll probably take up the full time. Richard will be, but we'll play it now and then we'll hang out.
Exactly. And then, folks, if you have some disappointments, please share them in chat. We'll talk about those quickly as well. Okay, Richard, take it away for the post show.
Okay, post-show time, and I know I don't have much time, although maybe it'll be different this time. Without Ray, maybe there's a little bit more time for the post-show. Hey, Ruel, make the pre-show shorter so there's more post-show time so the audience can talk about what they think. You're always having to rush right out the door, and I feel like I have to rush through this right now, but we're going to rush right through it. Okay, here's my personal top 10 most disappointing games of 2023, starting with number 10 on the list, Scholars of the South Tigris. And my disappointment here is pretty much mirrored by, Wayfarers of the South Tigris, which made my short list for 2022, and everything I complained about there with the way influence works and ruins an otherwise amazing design is equally true here. The reason this didn't make my short list, at the top of the list, is because at this point, honestly, I kind of expected it, and it didn't disappoint. I couldn't be that disappointed because, they're going to do the influence thing again, aren't they? And it's going to ruin the game, isn't it? Oh, it's disappointing. But I didn't have much hope to begin with. And so it comes in at number 10, Scholars of the South Tigris. Number 9, Ruel. Phil Walker Harding, praise be, disappointed me a bit with Spellbook. It's okay. It's just fine. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's the very definition of a 2.5 out of 5 star game. And honestly, I just expected more with Phil Walker Harding working with Space Cowboys. It's okay. So I was a bit disappointed, which is why it's number 9. Number 8, Imperial Miners. This one is again, this one is fantastic. This could have been shortlisted for my top 10 of the year, quite frankly, because the engine building is so great, and I'm such a huge fan of designer Tim Armstrong, and I'm such a huge fan of Portal Games. There's just one choice that was made in the design of this game that pretty much ruined it for me and Jen, and it was such an easy thing. It was the way they implemented event systems. And so it was a disappointing year as a Tim Armstrong fan and a Portal Games fan. My official rule, folks, I talked about this in the roundup. Basically, you should know what events are coming up so that they don't unfairly, randomly benefit one player or hurt one player over another and destroy what is otherwise one of the coolest engine building games we've seen in a long time. I guess I'll always have Arcana Rising, but Imperial Miners, just the tiniest change could have made it one of the best, which is why it comes in on the list as a big disappointment. Then what have I got? Number 7 is Marvel Damage Control. This was actually in my top 10 most anticipated games for 2023 because I love deck building and I love Marvel superheroes and I love the idea. We're not the superheroes here. We're just regular blue-collar construction workers who are trying to clean up the streets of New York after an epic superhero battle. All the buildings get destroyed and there's rubble everywhere. It's our job to clean it up. But what do you know? The superheroes feel so guilty that we can draft them and add them to our deck so we can use their superpowers to help us. That's just so awesome. And I love that it's basically, there's just a bunch of cards all face down, shuffled up on the board. That's the pile of rubble that we're pulling stuff out of, and we're finding, one of Dr. Octopus's robot arms, and we can add it to our deck and use it to clean up more stuff. Just describing this should be an amazing game. And it actually is. Omari Keel did a fantastic job. It's so thematic. There's just one problem. about, I don't know, 20% of the cards are just really nasty take that cards. Just screw the player over, steal their stuff, ruin their plans, and there's just no reason for it. This could have been another super contender. This would have been one of my all-time fave, probably a top 10 deck builder because it does so many cool things and the theme is so clever and wonderfully implemented. Ruined by just drowning in all these needlessly aggressive take that cards. Now, take that fans, check this game out. It's fantastic if that's what you're looking for, but it broke my heart. And then that was number 7. Number 6 was a game I did not play but was very excited for, Path of Civilization. I love civilization building games, and this one has so many really, really cool design ideas in there. I was super duper stoked until I eventually started seeing pictures of it and realized, oh, this game is completely 100% AI art driven. And Ruel, as you know, we have a policy here on Rahdo Runs Through that we're just not going to cover AI art because we don't want to contribute to hastening artists being out of a job. There's no stopping progress. I know if you want to say it, I've heard it all down in the comments, folks. You don't need to chime in about it. And I appreciate both sides of the argument, but at the end of the day, I just don't want to contribute to that. Even if it is going to happen, no matter what. And it's too bad because Path of Civilization, fingers crossed, somewhere down the road, Captain Games decides, hey, let's make a second edition and actually hire Vincent Dutray or Andrew Bosley or Beth Sobel or anybody to actually make handmade art rather than computer-generated art, because then I'd be all over this baby. But as it is, it was a bit of a disappointment. And then finally, number 6 on my personal list. Oh, I'm sorry, no, number 5. Oh, man. Pirates of Maracaibo. Maybe my second favorite designer of all time, Alexander Pfister, revisiting one of my top 20 games of all time, Maracaibo, turning it into a kind of Maracaibo Express. Plays in half the time, still gives all that great rondel action, and is just fun. And, it's a really, really good game. It delivers exactly what I hoped for an Express Maracaibo, for when I want that Maracaibo vibe, but I've only got an hour, and I don't want to sit down for 2.5 hours or whatever. Jen and I are slow players, folks. Anyway, though, why did it disappoint me? Because Maracaibo did not need to add dice rolling. Roll to resolve. Hey, I've figured it out. I've moved where it's going to go. This is going to be a great turn. I roll the die, and I just wasted my entire turn. I wish that wasn't here. I wish combat was deterministic. Or I wish that there was a better way where you could mitigate dice after the roll instead of before the roll. It's just, for people who love dice rolling and don't mind roll to resolve, it's phenomenal. But for me, it's just like, whoa, this comes out of left field, and it just drags the whole exercise down in what would have otherwise probably made my top 10 of the year, because I went into it so excited for the reasons I just said. But as it is, then it comes in at number 5 on my personal list. And then, of course, we already talked about number 4, Expeditions, number 3, My Island, number 2, Oranienburger Kanal, and number 1, Ticket to Ride, Legends of the West. Whew. Wow. Sounds like it was a tough year. Actually, 2023 was an amazing year, but there's always going to be some heartbreakers, and that's it for me. Back to you guys.
Okay. Some interesting choice. I never would have thought if Alexander Pfister game would make Richard's list of most disappointing. So very interested to hear that. He mentioned
it was weird, the part where Richard went on that 4-minute rant about how much he hates Alexander Pfister and his family too. That was a bit uncalled for, but unless we cut that out in the YouTube video. But on Twitch, wow, he went off. I think we should probably cut that. But,
there it is. And Richard, go ahead and blame Ray for that. I was a little bummed to see Spellbook on there. Again, Phil Walker Harding, praise be, one of my favorite designers. I have not played it, but sort of a bummer to hear that. Damage Control, I liked it. I thought it was fun, but I know it's not Richard's type of game, the whole Take That thing, but I love the theme, just like Richard loved the theme, but I'm okay with some Take That. I
don't mind Take That, as long as it's like earned, you know what I mean? Like that's why I like Unfair. But if it's player interaction in a sense, right? The whole game can't be Take That. But if you have a spot where I know what you're doing, and this is the way that I can stop you from doing that, and it's used, sparingly, I'm totally fine with it.
Oh yeah, totally. Chris, any games that made your list that didn't make the official top 10?
Yeah, Scholars was on my list. I played
Okay.
Scholars. I just found it ran a little bit long personally. I
Okay.
kind of was. I've only played it once, but and it was a learning game too, so that could have part. I like the combo. It's one of those games where like I don't know if I love it or don't, you know, because there's so many combos, there's so many things. I think it is representative of the board gaming hobby, both good and bad, in terms of we want combos, we want every mechanic in there, and that's kind of how I feel about that. Yeah, Kingdom Rush Elemental Horde. I just got in. I haven't played it yet, but the insert is so bad. I contemplated putting it on the list. I just like I got something about game. I got something against game trays. I think I just don't think they play the games before they actually design an insert for them.
Is that the latest Kingdom Rush game? They had another one, right?
Yeah, it's the latest one.
Did you have the first one, the original?
No, I haven't played either.
I had a problem with that insert too, man. It's so funny.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So they didn't fix anything. Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it's fine, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that almost made it on there. But yeah. Those are sort of there are a few others, but there were a lot of ones that like looking through the 2023. I was like, oh yeah, oh boy, and like a lot of ones that like I really enjoyed that. But that's not what this one's about. No,
not at all.
What about you, Ruel? I saw some fun ones in the comments too.
Yeah, it's the big one that stood out for me that didn't really hit with me was Wandering Towers, the Kramer and Kiesling game. I know a lot of people loved it. I played a couple times. I did play a couple times at 2 players, so maybe that's the problem. It just really fell flat with me. It was like going around and around in a circle, dropping meeples. Like, it's cute, but it just didn't really hit with me. But I know a lot of people enjoyed that, so maybe I'll give it another shot with more players. As far as folks in chat, Kimma actually loves Spellbook, so see, that's good to hear. I will give it a shot for sure. And then people were asking, Shardis was talking about, did Lords of Ragnarok make anyone's list? I know at least one person, a friend of mine, that got Lords of Ragnarok and immediately traded it away because it wasn't for them. So, yeah.
Dang. I like Lords of Hellas. I think Lords of Hellas is fun. But I Lords of Ragnarok looked okay. But I know people were having some issues with it.
Right.
Brim the Black says disappointment was Empire's End. That's John D. Clare.
Oh, interesting.
I want to say.
Yeah.
I remember. I can visualize it. I thought that looked good.
I thought it was
like space-esque.
Yeah, it's space meets No Thanks. It takes those two elements, and I thought it was a really good game. But yeah, again, not for everyone. Goblin had said Mythwind and White Castle. Like, I love White Castle. But I can see how
I
that's
haven't
not
played
it.
But I love Red Cathedral, so I just have to love White Castle until I play it.
Yeah, totally. And I can see how though. Well, I haven't played Mythwind, but I know White Castle. I could totally see how that's not for everyone. It's different. It's much different than the Red Cathedral. It's a really tight game. I mean, you have 9 turns the entire time. That's it. So yeah.
Mythwind is the one with the whales, right? Like the flying whales.
Yes,
that's the one. Yeah. I think so.
I haven't played it.
Yeah, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Kimma's here to be the patron saint of all these disappointments. They go right into Kimma's collection.
Totally. So is Brim the Black, another vote for White Castle. Again, see, as you can see, folks, disappointing games to some of us, non-disappointing games for others of us. So I think we are right at the 2:00 hour Pacific, so that means we're out of time. So we got to hang out. We heard our picks. We heard your picks. Thank you again, folks, for hanging out with us today. Chris, any final words before I get ready to raid someone?
No, I agree with Corthane that Machikoro is just awful. It's dead. It needs to die a fiery death. It's already been killed by Space Base. That's fine. But you shut your mouth about Ku. I'm sorry they didn't like Ku. Ku is amazing. But also I had a bad play of it recently, and that's just because like it wasn't the vibe. It needs to be the vibe. Have
you played the Machikoro Legacy game, Chris?
No, and I will never.
Okay, I was going to say, I've heard it fixes some things in a way that non-Machikoro fans would enjoy.
It's okay. I just play Space Base.
Yeah, I love Space Base.
Not Empire's End, though.
Hey, come on. Empire's End is great, folks. And we'll have Kimma have the final word today. Kimma says, I didn't really have any disappointing games that came out last year. The new one, the new to me I played that didn't hit last year was Woodcraft and Merchants the Dark Road. Yeah, again, we're talking about most disappointing games, but as we said earlier, I think we said this live, but it was a really good game for years
That's a good
last year, right?
Yeah.
So, thank you for that, Kimma. We are going to raid Loozapalooza. They are playing. Dave is playing he's working his way through a murder mystery right now. So let's go raid Dave and Ilka at Loozapalooza. Friends, thank you again. We will be back in 2 weeks, I believe. We'll let you know the schedule as it comes out. But we're going to raid Loozapalooza right now. And give me just a second to get this button pressed. And we'll see you next time, folks, here on the R&R Show. I'll be back next week with From the Vault, so we're going to finish up our series on award winners. So come back for that, and then Chris and Ray will be back for the R&R Show. Thank you again, Chris.
You know what? I might even jump in May 7th. I might throw a curveball. Who knows?
I would love that.
See.
Yeah.
Tuned.
Let's bring Chris out of the vault, folks, and see what he has to say. We're rating right now, and let me press the old button. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye. And...
yeah, it looks like we
we did. Okay,
rated
cool,
over
cool,
on
cool. Awesome.
over on that.
Stop streaming.